Have you ever wondered how the first political civilization came into existence? Our primate ancestors had already developed a sense of social and political organization. The first human societies were essentially families forming bands of hunter-gatherers, but then something momentous happened. With the invention of agriculture around 7,000 to 8,000 years before the Common Era, we began to see a shift from these band societies to tribal forms of organization. The surplus of food that agriculture provided meant that for the first time, some people could step away from the daily grind of sustenance farming. These individuals formed a new social elite who dominated their communities through means other than agriculture, industry, or commerce. As these societies grew, they began to explore diverse decision-making models and governance structures. This evolution was not just beneficial, it was necessary. As societies grew and evolved, so did their complexity and the need for structured governance. With the growth of societies came inevitable conflicts, but also the beginnings of diplomacy. As tribes grew in number and influence, there was bound to be friction. Disputes arose over resources, land, and even people, leading to bouts of warfare that could reshape the political landscape. And yet, amidst the turmoil, we see the first signs of diplomacy. Leaders began to recognize the value of negotiation and alliance, of finding common ground rather than resorting to brute force. The art of conversation became a tool of governance, used to prevent conflicts or to resolve them when they arose. But what sparked these conflicts? Often it was as simple as theft of livestock or crops, or the abduction of women. But on a larger scale, these skirmishes were fueled by a thirst for resources and status, a desire to be the dominant force within the region. These early societies were not only battling each other, but also the elements, with the distribution of power often determined by geographical advantages. The early distribution of political power was heavily influenced by geography. A key element in the rise of the first political civilizations was the geographical location. The availability of fresh water, fertile soil, and a temperate climate were crucial factors that determined the spread of political power. These conditions were necessary for the development of agriculture, which led to the establishment of stable, settled communities and the growth of complex societies. Let's take a look at some of the early societies that benefited from these geographical advantages. The Indus Valley Civilization, for instance, was situated next to the Himalayas and the Indus and Ganges rivers. The rivers deposited sediment from the mountains, creating fertile land ideal for agriculture. This allowed the Indus Valley Civilization to flourish, establishing a strong foundation for political power. Similarly, in Mesopotamia, the Tigris and Euphrates rivers played a significant role. They deposited sediments from the nearby Zagros Mountains, creating rich, arable land. This fertile crescent became the cradle of civilization, giving birth to some of the earliest political structures in human history. In ancient Egypt, the Nile River was the lifeblood of the civilization. It deposited sediments from the East African highlands, creating a fertile strip of land in an otherwise desert region. This geographical advantage facilitated the growth of one of the most enduring civilizations in history. Moving further east, we find ancient China, where the Yellow River and Yangtze played a similar role. These rivers deposited fertile silt, allowing agriculture to thrive and paving the way for the emergence of political power. In all these cases, the geographical location provided the necessary conditions for the development of agriculture, which in turn led to the rise of political structures. These societies understood the significance of their geography and harnessed it to their advantage, creating some of the earliest political civilizations. These societies were the forerunners of the first political civilization as we know it. The first political power in the region of Mesopotamia was the Akkadian Empire, starting around 2300 BCE. Born amidst the fertile plains between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the Akkadian Empire flourished, harnessing the life-giving waters to build a civilization that would shape the course of human history. Yet it was not birthed in isolation. Its roots can be traced back to its predecessor, the ancient civilization of Sumer. Sumer laid the groundwork for Akkadian society, pioneering the use of written language, irrigation, and city planning. The Akkadians, however, took these advancements and pushed them to new heights. They expanded their territory, integrating various city-states under one centralized rule, a concept that was revolutionary at the time. This unification led to a period of unprecedented prosperity and cultural exchange, setting the stage for the emergence of the Akkadian Empire. But the rise of the Akkadian Empire was not without challenges. To the north, in the rugged mountainous regions, kingdoms such as Mitanni, Urartu, Elam and Medes posed a constant threat. These neighboring powers, strategically positioned above the Mesopotamian plains, were a source of competition and conflict for the Akkadians. So, we have journeyed through the evolution of the first political civilization. We've seen how our ancestors transitioned from hunting and gathering to forming tribal societies, giving rise to a social elite. Conflict and diplomacy played their parts, while geographical advantages shaped the distribution of power. The Akkadian Empire, established in the fertile region between the Tigris and Euphrates, was a turning point, showcasing the first laws. As we reflect on these early societies, we can see the roots of our modern political systems and appreciate the complexities of our shared history.